If you run a company or manage a team, hiring qualified people quickly can make or break your business. Imagine a position of need going unfilled for weeks or even months because you just can't seem to find the right candidate. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster. This makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results on your job post. Just in the last minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Now that is fast. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Listeners will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Go to Indeed.com/BWN right now to support this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply.
What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Mac Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the greats, Mac, to everyone.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, part of the Varsity Podcast Network, presented by Learfield. I'm Alex. Joining me, as always, the man with hopefully a plan, Graham Giles. Graham, welcome back.
No plans here, man. It's summer vacation. You know, that means taking it easy, both in the body and in the mind. And I have so little of a plan. I didn't even plan to say that. Wish I hadn't, but here we are.
Well, welcome back, Graham. We've officially wrapped up spring sports. And it's the calm before the storm. You know, you're talking about summer break, summer vacations. And so this week we decided we wanted to kind of tease our college football preview shows. And we're going to tease you with some non-con games, an exciting slate of non-conference games for the Mid-American Conference this year.
Yeah, I think the MAC has, justly or unjustly, been the subject of some ridicule, not just this past year, but for a few years now. And part of that is due to the way that the MAC performs in these non-conference games. Part of that is due to the fact that we got all these transfers happening willy-nilly. But we'll talk a little bit about returning strength of each of these teams when we actually get into those official previews. But yeah, Alex, I'm excited to talk about some of these non-conference games because it's the opportunity. I think when it comes to the end of the year, we start to talk about the way the MAC performs against other conferences in the bowl games. And I think people hear that and they forget that we've got some of these, not bowl games, but bowl games early on in the season with our non-con stuff, give us an idea of where the MAC matches up. And so these non-conference games can be a yardstick for this conference and how we compare going forward. Also a great recruiting tool potentially to get some high star recruits to these MAC programs.
Well, and I think, kind of going off your point about it being kind of the bowl games in season and kind of a measuring stick, I would argue it's even more of a measuring stick than the bowl games, right? Bowl games, you get a lot more players opting out, transfer portal, coaches turnovers, things like that. The regular season, teams are trying to go undefeated. Teams are trying to make now the 12-team college football playoff. And a school like West Virginia or Rutgers or Oklahoma, Texas, to a MAC program, not ideal. That's not what they want. So I think that these games probably mean more in the regular season than they do the postseason, especially in a non-playoff kind of bowl game.
Well, certainly the NIU's big win last year over Notre Dame got plenty of attention for NIU. No, unfortunately, the NIU was not able to turn that attention into anything, finishing with kind of still a winning season, but a disappointing season. But the more we can get these MAC wins over big opponents, the more we have opportunities for teams to really show out. I think we were all a little bit expecting some old school. What they made the Orange Bowl that year, NIU. We were all kind of hoping for that, and we didn't quite get that last year. But every year it's an opportunity for a MAC team to step up, and these non-conference games are the way to show that.
Yeah, absolutely. They that Orange Bowl magical run for Northern Illinois. They were within a score of Florida State going into the fourth quarter. Florida State ultimately pulled away with 2 fourth quarter touchdowns, but NIU represented the MAC well on the biggest stage that the MAC had seen. But yeah, let's just dive into this, Graham. We've got like we kind of mentioned, several really, really fun, exciting, kind of pre-MAC play games, these non-conference slate. And let's just dive into it. Week 1, we've got games Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I got to tell you, if you're anybody, you should have, I think, Western Michigan at Michigan State circled.
Yeah, I definitely a game to watch there. Wild for you to jump in right at the Friday games and not even talk about the Thursday games. There's a couple there I want to talk about, but the Friday game there, Western Michigan at Michigan State, in-state rivalry. I don't know that we actually say rivalry with the straight face. It doesn't happen that often, but this is the Broncos, one of those teams who it seems like every year they defy our expectations, good or bad, and certainly was the case last year. But this Western Michigan team has a chance. I was talking about we're going to get into really where these MAC teams fall when we do the previews, but I can tell you, preview of the preview. It's Western Michigan towards the bottom of the conference in terms of returning production. Not a lot of folks coming back from that last year's team, which makes them something of a question mark. We don't really know how this Western Michigan team is going to stack up. Similar to Michigan State, another team who we don't really know what team we're going to get. I think you're dead on. This could be an exciting matchup, mostly because we'll learn something about these teams.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be a fun one. You're right. I did skip over the Thursday ones. I'm just for that first weekend slate. That is the game that I have primarily circled because I think that could be a really exciting one and a tone setter for Western Michigan. But there are some great Thursday games and a couple potential upsets I see for the Mid-American Conference.
Well, so those Thursday games, and I'm going to hit all of these because I think they all say something when this early in the season. But Lafayette at Bowling Green, that should be a Bowling Green win. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Bowling Green has gone through quite a bit of turnover themselves, especially in terms of coaching. But Bowling Green second to last in the MAC in terms of returning production. So and that happening on both sides of the ball. Bowling Green only returning 19% of their defensive production over from last year, and that was a Bowling Green defense who was pretty good. So it will be interesting to see. I expect that to be a Bowling Green win. Ohio at Rutgers, though. Again, this is one of those. Rutgers is kind of on the come up, so I don't think this is a MAC win. But Rutgers seems like they're always susceptible to a loss, and we know Ohio. Coming off that MAC title last year, they might just have it in them. We'll see if that's a hangover, if that's a carrying the momentum through.
Rutgers obviously coming off of a 7-6 season a year ago, finished 10th in the Big Ten, which now is middle of the Big Ten because there are 18 teams. So you think 10th, you're like, man, they really suck. No, that's the middle of the pack anymore. At 4-5. in the conference, which just that's another topic for another night. But yeah, I agree with you. Ohio riding high. There was some coaching turnover for the Bobcats. Brian Smith, the former offensive coordinator, now heading up this program. But Ohio's got 3 straight seasons with 10-plus wins, trying to see if they can make it a 4th with a new coaching change. And that starts with Ohio at Rutgers. This Wyoming-Akron game is a tone setter.
This is interesting because this is one of those things where we talk about Wyoming is almost a MAC team in terms of their quality, in terms of how often we play them in freaking bowl games. That's it seems like we're always playing Wyoming. And I normally would say any MAC team matchup against Wyoming has a shot. Akron has gone through the just a tough offseason with these APR issues, as well as just in general being Akron. Alex, do the Zips stand a shot here?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think they do. This would actually be the first matchup between Akron and Wyoming. I was looking at the numbers. Wyoming is actually 12-6 against the Mid-American Conference, with undefeated records against Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, Kent State, and Ball State. They have a losing record to Eastern Michigan. So, but I don't think that this is Akron's year to win this one. Wyoming, they have postseason to play for. Akron has really this year pride to play for. Now, I think it would be very Akron for them to go out and go undefeated this year and not have a chance to compete for anything. I feel like that would be very on brand for Akron football. But I have to say that I think this is Wyoming's game here in week 1.
And then I'm going to wrap up the end of Thursday there. Again, I think all of these Thursday games, they're worth watching, but wrap up Thursday there with both of these games just wrapped into one because they feel like one big burrito to me. Buffalo at Minnesota, Miami at Wisconsin. One of these teams, either Minnesota or Wisconsin, is going to be bad next year. I guarantee it. I don't know who. I think one of these games is winnable and one of them is not, and I can't tell you which, and I won't be able to tell you which until after they happened, but come see me for post-game betting lines. I'm happy to tell you the results of the game after it happens.
Graham will give you all the post-game betting lines. This Wisconsin game, this is going to be fun. This is the second matchup between Miami and Wisconsin, and then Buffalo, Minnesota getting some PJ Fleck action against his former conference. So that'll be exciting.
As for the Saturday slates of non-con games week 1, I don't see anything there that we need to talk about. Toledo at Kentucky is interesting. Ball State at Purdue is interesting. But I don't really think any of those games are as interesting as Western Michigan at Michigan State.
I think Eastern Michigan at Texas State is likely the most interesting one because it could be the most competitive one.
That's fair. That's Temple at UMass is just that's practically a conference game.
Yeah, honestly, it really is. Temple, former MAC program in football, UMass, and a returning MAC program in football. Just throw the MAC patch on Temple's uniforms, and we'll call it the MAC opener for UMass.
That's right, MAC throwback.
The MAC throwback. I like it. Merrimack at Kent State. This one is interesting insofar as if Kent State wins this one, they will not go winless this year.
That's right. This is an opportunity for Kent to set the tone. But I don't care. I care about every MAC game, and just not that one. I'm sure it'll be a fine game. And I'm sorry, Flashes fans, prove me wrong. But Kent State has been bad consistently, and news keeps getting worse for the Golden Flashes. So, here's hoping that that program turns around this year and they set the tone with Merrimack and they make me look just incredibly dumb. But it's a game that I will not be watching.
No, and that's fair. It's I'm excited for that one again. Opportunity for Kent State to slowly right this ship after an 0-12 season, but we'll see. Let's move into this week 2 slate. We got one Friday game, so we might as well talk about it. Northern Illinois versus Maryland. These two teams met 22 years ago, Graham, where Northern Illinois beat Maryland 20-13 in overtime. Maryland was 15 in the country at the time. That was the same year Northern Illinois beat Alabama. That was 2003 was a good year for the Mid-American Conference. Let me tell you, that was the year Toledo beat Pitt.
We all remember that year.
That was a good year.
No, I don't remember any of those games. But I've seen plenty of highlights, Alex, and they're all great. Here's hoping NIU can take down Maryland again. That's all I have to say about that. What do you think about that Saturday slate? This week 2 Saturday.
Saturday slate looks really good. My early circles are around West Virginia at Ohio. West Virginia with 70 transfers this year. And Ohio's been pretty good since they renamed the field at Peden Stadium, Frank Solich Field. In fact, they've lost 2 games on that field. No, 1 game on that field in the last 3 years, including a win over Iowa State. So I've got my eyes on that one. That's a fellow Big 12 opponent for West Virginia.
We love to see the MAC host these non-con games. We don't see that a lot. So good on West Virginia for coming up, and good luck to the Bobcats in that one. I think you're right. I think that's a possible Bobcat win.
I really like that one. Bowling Green at Cincinnati. This one scheduled after a lot of contention when it was announced that Cincinnati would no longer play Miami, at least for the foreseeable future. And then they immediately throw Bowling Green onto the schedule. So I thought that one was very interesting.
This one's interesting for the drama.
Yeah, it is. And so that's long story short, for those who aren't aware, Miami and Cincinnati are canceling their rivalry series kind of for the foreseeable future. And they're not going to do a home and home anymore. It's going to be, if it happens, it looks like it's going to be more in Cincinnati than at Miami, which I have my own disagreements on. But I like this Bowling Green at Cincinnati one. And then Miami, Ohio, Rutgers should be fine. But WKU, Western Kentucky at Toledo, this was the game that was delayed by about 2 hours from weather a year ago.
That's right.
Toledo was winning, and then all the momentum shifted to the home team. I think Toledo comes out really on fire for this one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Certainly a winnable matchup there. One of those teams we were kind of courting to come to the MAC, and obviously that didn't pan out, but certainly a matchup that we love to see. And one of the few college football hats that I had growing up was a Western Kentucky hat. I don't know why. I just had it in my collection of college football hats. So
you were a big Hilltopper fan.
That's right. What goes on the top of hills better than trees? And then secondarily, radio towers. Now, of course, if you wanted to pick up like various collegiate radio podcasts, things like that, Alex, where could I go?
It's interesting you bring that up, because you're not going to necessarily get radio towers, but you can download the Varsity app by Lairfield today in the App Store for free. It is with this Varsity app. What I think one of my favorite things about it, honestly, is that you can listen to all of your favorite Division I schools. You can hear calls from all the voices across Division I, including the MAC, the Big Ten, SEC, Pac-12, which is reforming, and many more. You can sign in, create an account, save your favorite schools, your sports, and their content for easy access. But what's even cooler about this is you're going to find loads of incredible podcasts through the Varsity Podcast Network, including fan favorites like yours truly, the MAC Sports Connection, dear friends of ours, the Group of Five Guys, the Sickos Committee podcast, and many more. Again, guys, you will be able to hear all these sounds, tones, voices through the Varsity Network app. Download it today. It is free in the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. Download, sign in, save all of the content from all the voices that bring your sports teams to life.
Yeah, not real radio towers. I got that. Call me a tourist on a scooter. I'm not great with a Segway. Let's talk about week 3. Week 3 in our non-conference schedule. We love to see these MAC matchups against Michigan, and I think exclusively because we're hoping to see a 2007 Toledo again. I don't know that we're going to see that one this year. I think Michigan's looking pretty good, but love to see those Michigan teams taking on the Michigan. This one, of course, at the Big House.
I would love to see it. Matthew Drinkle in his first year at Central Michigan, an opportunity for him to make a statement early and show the MAC and the country that he's for real. He's the real deal as the coach at CMU. But yeah, I see Michigan winning this one. Chalk this one up for the Wolverines. But you mentioned another, kind of more of these games. You mentioned the Toledo upset. I really like this Liberty at Bowling Green game. Liberty, who went to the Fiesta Bowl just 2 years ago, took on Oregon. They beat Bowling Green at home. Bowling Green threw 5 interceptions in that game, and Liberty won by 2 scores. I think it was actually a 10-point win, if I remember correctly. Bowling Green gets the return trip, and I'm excited for that one.
Liberty's had a great couple of seasons. Kind of going back, these past 2 years. And they used to be a team you would see on a MAC schedule, and you would just go ahead and chalk up a win for the MAC team. That's not so true anymore. And it makes those Liberty games competitive. So that is a good one to circle. Check out Liberty at Bowling Green. Also that same day, Ohio at Ohio State. We think we know the results of that game, but good to see MAC teams who are going to get that national exposure. Hopefully the Bobcats look good there, and who knows, maybe an upset. Returning national champions Ohio State is a tough pull. And then obviously Western Michigan at Illinois. Now this is not the Illinois team that Toledo almost beat a couple of years ago. But Toledo did almost beat this Illinois team a couple of years ago. So
same quarterback.
Western Michigan has a shot. I don't expect a win there, but keep your eyes on that game.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game to kind of watch. I wanted to point out, just kind of circling back on this Liberty Bowling Green one, this is the rubber match for them. This will be the third time that they've matched up. They are 1-1 apiece. But yeah, kind of touching on that Western Michigan game, I love the idea that Illinois has just continually struggled against the Mid-American Conference. They do not perform well. As of late, it's always a dogfight for them with the MAC. Overall, they are 21-6, but they've lost games to Ohio. They've lost games to Eastern Michigan. Like this is not going to be a gimme game for Illinois. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. Let's touch on week 4. We're wrapping up the non-con slate for a couple of the programs here, but this week 4 run, Graham, I really, and you've got the same one highlighted. It looks like I really, really like this NIU at Mississippi State game.
Well, we know why we like the Mississippi
Yes,
State
we do.
matchups in the MAC. That's the Mississippi State. I mean, the SEC fans, they love to talk, and most of their talk is trash. The Mississippi State embarrassed by the Rockets last year, and NIU, they're on their way out. This their MAC farewell tour. Why not kick off the last year with just a leaving flames and ashes behind you as you take down as many teams as you possibly can. NIU is a tough team. And I think they have every opportunity to take down Mississippi State. I think we need to stop acting like Mississippi State is a big win, because we understand that Mississippi State is not a good team.
Here's the thing, though, Graham. Mississippi State is a big win because of the patch on their chest.
Well, yes, they act like they're a big team. They like to walk around and point at that SEC patch. But yeah, I think for those of us in the MAC, we recognize that it's about the players and the school more than it is about the conference. And so we like to point out our wins rather than the fact that we play in the same conference as Alabama. But I don't know. That's the if your patches are important to you, that's fine. We like the scoreboard here in the MAC. In any case, that's a winnable game. That's a winnable game for NIU. And we'd love to see it. I always have these. We also have Duquesne at Akron. Like I said, I like to see out of conference opponents show up. Duquesne not particularly skilled at football, but an interesting matchup there because it's the Keith Dambrot coaching at Akron for so long leaves to go coach Duquesne. So there's a little bit of a connection there between Akron and Duquesne. At least basketball wise, not so much football wise. But I like to draw loose connections, and we would never talk about Akron if we only talked about the games they could possibly win.
That's true. That's true. I'm gonna say it, and you can call this my preseason hot take if you want. Kent State plays a competitive game with Florida State. Florida State, who won two games last year.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
that is
not.
My preseason hot take.
No, don't listen to Alex. Turn off the podcast right now. Everybody turn it off. Goodness gracious. Kent State plays a good game against Florida State is the worst take I've ever heard. Oh my gosh. That's
as bad of a take as Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame last year.
That wasn't a bad take. We know Northern Illinois is a tough team. They play good football. Kent State hasn't proven they can play football in 3 years.
That's why I said it's a hot take, Graham.
That's not a hot take. That's an ice cold take. That's so bad.
We'll see.
That's so bad. You were at the all-you-can-eat buffet and you were stuffing things in your pockets to take home for later. That's such a bad take.
I can't wait to run this back at the end of week 4.
I can't wait to run this back at the end of week 4. I can't wait to run this back at the end of week 4, and we can go. Remember when you even suggested that this was a possibility? I'm so done. So done. Bowling Green plays Louisville that week. Check it out. But I can't even talk about that game because Alex is nuts. Are you kidding me? Kent State might play a good game against Florida State. And I know, folks, following week 4, Alex is going to go, well, they kind of played a good game despite losing by 70 points. So we're going to ignore him.
If it's within 50, I'm going to say it was a good game.
I know you are, and you're going to be wrong. Week 5, we've got a Saturday matchups in week 5. We got a few non-con games. UMass at Mizzou is a big name game. I don't really see UMass coming out victorious in that one. None of these games jump out at me. Lindenwood at Miami is a ho-hum game that should be a Miami victory. Rhode Island at Western Michigan, same thing. San Diego State at NIU, that's a fun matchup. I always like to see San Diego State and San Jose State against MAC teams. So again, NIU has a good non-con matchup.
Well, I really like this one. This is an opportunity for both of these teams, right? San Diego State kind of seeing some of the deal with this Pac-12 Mountain West reshuffling, Northern Illinois going to the Mountain West. So it's going to be really interesting to see these Mountain West and kind of MAC schools that are going to likely be playing each other a lot more. I think San Diego State's officially going to the Pac-12. But this is exciting because you get to see what the old MAC or Mountain West outgoing team is like versus the incoming team. And so I think there's a cool little storyline there as well.
Yeah, and again, this is NIU's Scorched Earth MAC farewell tour. So I would love to see them burn down San Diego State. At that point in the season, I'm sure we'll be looking back and saying like, wow, can you believe those Huskies are undefeated? Here, Alex, why don't you tell us about our week 6 matchup and how this one's going to be a close game?
This is going to be the best game of the week. Mark it down. Kent State at number 22, Oklahoma. Probably not a competitive game, mostly because there's a number in front of Oklahoma's name, and that is 22. I will say, nope, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say it because Graham's just going to yell at me. Oklahoma will be coming off of a game against Michigan. Not that really matters, but, that might be important for you bettors at home. Kent State, Oklahoma's going to use Kent State as hey, let's rest our guys. Let's get healed up and get ready for conference play.
Oklahoma's going to use Kent State as an opportunity to start some guys who don't normally get a chance to start, which could be good for Kent State, but more than likely it means that we're going to have some energetic freshmen trying to prove themselves and put up 100 points on Kent State. I'll say this for you enthusiastic bettors out there: every time I take Kent State plus the points, it bites me right in the rear end. So don't fall victim. Finally, our last non-con matchup. It's a an interesting matchup at the end of
Mhm.
October, Toledo at Washington State. Another hat that I had as a kid, another college football hat that I had was a Washington State hat. That
Graham
one
was
made
an
more sense.
everything but Toledo hat sort of guy, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Seattle, Alex. I did not grow up in Toledo. That being said, the Washington State, a great school, kind of a school. I feel like a little bit like Rutgers, where some years they're good and some years not so much. I think this one is very winnable for Toledo. It'll be interesting. A flight across the country is not super easy on a team, and any sort of late season non-con matchup, you got to ask, is the team going to be focused on that game when in the midst of the conference schedule?
Mhm.
But I think this is a winnable game. They'll have to play great. And we know the Rockets can play great. We've talked a little bit about returning production. The Rockets returning the most production of any MAC side. 75% of their offensive production returns to Toledo, and more than half of their defensive production is returning. So just a real shot for the Toledo Rockets at kind of the mid end of the season, the start of the end of the season. I say as I try to come up with a way to describe that.
Well, I think, this Washington State team, they started out the year hot. They started 8-1, ended up ultimately losing their final 4 games. But when you look at some of the scores, they were playing perceived lower tier opponents close. They pulled out a 54-52 win over San Jose State, a 25-17 win over Fresno State. They pulled out a 29-26 win over San Diego State. So, teams we've talked about on this show already today. They lost 15-14 to Wyoming. So I don't know. This one, I think, biased aside, I think this one has a lot of intrigue. For Toledo and Washington State. Toledo breaking up their conference slate a little bit with their final non-con game, and then Washington State, they get a quality G5 opponent that they get to host. Washington State will return the favor in a couple of years. They'll travel to Toledo, but I really, really like this matchup for both of these schools.
That's Washington State, one of the last remaining Pac-12ers. This is interesting, and it's a great matchup for Toledo. I think it's a great opportunity. It'll be interesting because this is a team who is across the country. As we said, it's in the middle of Toledo's conference slate, like we said, late in the season. We're gonna have a good idea who both of these teams are when they actually match up here. I worry that this is going to become a bigger deal to Toledo than the rest of those conference games around there, and worry that maybe this ruins Toledo's season. It seems like every year Rockets fans have a kind of one game that ends the Rockets' chances at or at least takes their MAC title hopes out of their own hands and puts into the hands of the other conference teams. I worry that this is kind of the start of that for Toledo.
Well, and I think I think that this could very well be a trap game for Toledo. You're going to put a lot of emphasis on this game, and you're right. That Washington State will return the favor to Toledo in September of 2031. And I have to think, knowing where the athletic director from Toledo came from, he had a hand in scheduling this game. Brian Blair coming from Washington State as the former associate athletic director. I have to think that this would be a nice little homecoming for him, as well as a chance to show off his current school's brand to the rest of the country.
And that's it, Alex. That's all we got.
That's all we got.
Non-con games. The rest of our games are con games. Like the 3-card Monty, Alex, that they're all con games.
No, this is I really like this non-conference schedule. I think a lot of schools scheduling to challenge themselves, a lot of schools scheduling where they feel they can compete, and then a lot of schools just looking to help supplement. And I don't think any of that is wrong. I think, you do what you do for your department and you do it the right way and you try to help your department. And I don't think any of that is the wrong way to go about it. So I'm excited for this non-conference slate.
It should be exciting, Alex. And I think it's a great way to kind of dip our toes in the football season. I'm still, as of this week, there's still college baseball going on. So I'm still got my eyes glued to those screens. And checking out what's going down in Omaha. Of course, we're in the middle of the MLB season, and you're coming at me asking me to talk about some football. So it's going to take us a second to get back into the football swing of things, but I think it's a great way to dip our toe into some MAC football action before we get into these true previews. When are we starting that, Alex? Next week?
The game plan is next week, and we're probably just going to run down the list. I think you and I will have that decided and hammered out a little bit more, but I think we're probably just going to go ABC order, guys. So next week, we should be getting on board with talking about the can at best go 12-0 Akron Zips.
That is true. That is true.
It should be a good conversation.
That's it for me, Alex. I don't know if you're waiting for me to say something else, but I think we've had enough non-con, and so enough non-confrontation from you. And let's end the show here.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As we mentioned, going to be starting conference individual team previews next week. Players coming back, schedules, coaching changes, things you need to know. We're going to be touching on all of that. 13 teams, 13 previews. So a lot going on between now and the beginning of the season. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate the love and support. Check us out over on Blue Sky, posting some different content over there, including the kind of the varying list that I've been putting together this off season. Today was last time each MAC school finished plus 500. So go check that out. Spoiler alert, every MAC school has finished above 500 except for 2 since 2020. So make sure you guys check that out over on Blue Sky at the MSC Podcast. I forget how to you actually type that handle out, but if you can look us up, the Max Sports Connection, you'll find us. Check us out on Instagram as well. We've got those socials up and firing as well. TikTok, a lot of you have shown some love on TikTok lately. We're at about 120 followers on TikTok after being at about 70 a week ago. So shout out to you guys for doing that. Facebook, of course, you can check us out there, and make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, and leave a review for the podcast on whatever your podcast platform is, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, even Amazon Music. We're available there as well. So please check us out. Please subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode from us, and please leave us a review. That helps us to get in front of other Maction fans and their ears so we can deliver the good news of Maction. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we will see you next week when we start doing our MAC football previews.